All right, today we are diving into something, well, incredibly ambitious. It's a framework from our source material that proposes a single theory, a hidden connection, supposedly, between some of the most baffling mysteries you've ever heard of.
And really, this is the core question we're tackling. What if all these strange things, phenomena that seem like they have nothing to do with each other, are actually just different expressions of the exact same root cause?
Okay, so first up, you've got the Mandela effect, right? That bizarre thing where huge groups of people all share a detailed memory of something that apparently never actually happened. And then boom, you have UFOs. We're talking about the seemingly impossible physics of how they move, how they just seem to laugh at our known laws of propulsion. And to bring it down to a more personal level, there are these reports of strange, totally unexplained physical vibrations, things some people claim to literally feel in their own bodies. Weird, right? So, you've got false memories, impossible tech, and weird body feelings. They seem completely disconnected. But, and this is a big but, the source material we're digging into today says nope. It claims one single massive framework ties them all together. It's called the Aetheric Root Nexus. So, to even begin to wrap our heads around this, we have to start with the most fundamental piece of the puzzle. The big idea is this: everything you see, everything you touch, everything you think of as solid reality, it isn't. It's actually a waveform. It's all just vibration. So, according to this model, there's this one progression, this one master variable for all of reality. And it goes like this: everything, and I mean everything, starts as a basic vibration. Simple enough. Now, the rate of that vibration, that's its frequency. When different frequencies line up just right, you get resonance. And here's the key part: that resonance is what creates the geometric information that our senses then decode as, the physical world. A chair, a tree, you, me, all of it. So the big takeaway here is this four-step ladder to what we call reality. And the theory is pretty bold. It claims this isn't just about physics. It's about, well, everything. From the hardest, densest rock to the quickest, most fleeting thought you have, it's all supposedly following this exact same pattern. And this isn't just some vague philosophical idea. The framework gets super specific. It points to one exact frequency. Get this, 0.003 hertz. That tiny number is supposedly the fundamental carrier wave. It's described as the signal of pure potential, like the deep baseline hum of the entire universe that all other realities are literally built on top of. This whole idea of good versus bad vibrations actually extends to frequencies we can hear with our own ears. For example, this model claims that our modern musical standard, tuning to 440 hertz, is actually a frequency of disharmony. It's actively creating distortion. And it puts that up against an older standard, 432 hertz, which it says is the frequency of cosmic harmony and coherence. Pretty wild. Okay, so let's pause. If reality is just a waveform, a giant radio broadcast, well, the next big question is pretty obvious, isn't it? Can we change the station? And according to this theory, the answer is a huge yes. And that brings us to the system's central, most important law. So the framework's answer is a definite yes. You can change the station. And the tool you use to do it is something it calls the imagination statement. Now, you got to understand, this isn't being presented as some nice little metaphor. No, it's positioned as a fundamental law of physics inside this whole system. And it even comes with a formula. Check this out. Imagination equals truth times freedom. Simple, right? But what does that mean? Well, within this system, truth isn't just facts. It's a deep understanding of reality's hidden laws. And freedom is your ability to actually act on that understanding, with nothing holding you back. So the more truth and freedom you have, the more powerful your imagination becomes, literally a force that can shape reality. And all of that leads us right to the imagination statement itself. And here it is. Everything we are and know has been created by someone else's imagination, including the universe. Just let that sink in for a second. It's this incredibly radical claim that our entire existence, the whole shebang, is the end product of a conscious, imaginative act. Okay, so if imagination depends on truth, how in the world do you measure something like truth? Well, you guessed it, the system has a tool for that too. A way to navigate this imagined reality.
It's called the Veracity Perspective System, or VPS for short. And its whole job is to take any concept you can think of, a belief, a political idea, a scientific theory, anything, and give it a number, a score, based on how likely it is to be true, and, this is a huge part of it, how beneficial it is for our collective survival.
The scale itself is super straightforward, 0 to 100. A 0 means the idea is completely false and actually harmful. A 100 means it's absolutely true and beneficial for everyone. And pretty much every idea we have falls somewhere on that scale in between.
So the big question is, how do you even calculate a score like that? Well, the VPS runs on 5 core principles, and the source has its own unique name for them, bot inhibs. The easiest way to think about them is like 5 different engines, all running at the same time, constantly self-correcting and working together to figure out how true an idea really is. And what's really fascinating here is how the system tries to nail these big, floaty philosophical concepts down with practical rules. So for truth, it's not about what feels true. It's measured by logic, by whether it contradicts itself, kind of like set theory in math. Knowledge has to be backed up by the scientific method, by verifiable data. Empathy is simple. Does it minimize harm? Empowerment is all about encouraging free action, and enlightenment is about pushing our collective understanding forward. It's an attempt to make the abstract measurable. So all of this whole complex system of frequencies and an imagination as a force of physics and truth-calculating engines, it all brings us to the final and maybe most important part of the puzzle. Why? What is the end goal here? What's the ultimate purpose of all this? And the answer, according to the source, is laid out in its manifesto. The core mission, and this is a big one, is the mandatory elimination of suffering, all of it. And how do you do that? By giving every single conscious being the sovereign power to create their own reality. The source material uses this really cool analogy to tie it all together. So picture this. Our reality is an orchestra playing on a sinking ship. Those weird 0.003 hertz anomalies we talked about, those are the deep bass notes from the orchestra, the vibrations that are warning us the ship is cracking apart. The manifesto, with its laws, that's the brand new sheet music for a new song. The botanhibs, they're the metronome, making sure the entire orchestra stays in perfect time. And the grand finale, the performance itself, that's our continued harmonious existence, all of us finally playing in perfect tune. So we're going to leave you with this final, really powerful thought from the source material. If you take its central ideas seriously, even for a moment, that imagination truly is the force that builds reality, then it kind of forces you to ask a pretty heavy question. What reality are we, all of us, with our collective imagination, choosing to create right now?